Alrighty, Roo and Cuckoo to you and all my nobody's not watching out there. I'm like kind of done for today. I ended up going down a rabbit hole with this whole other stuff and then other stuff and other stuff. But I do need to, because I rabbit holed. So it's largely considered with Andrew Jackson and the guy who wrote Oliver Twist. Uh, yeah, that it was considered a strategy by Jackson that he would make the gambit and gamble of just letting him fire first so he could take more time, and that he knew the person who was like, hey, you're the referee, I'm gonna get you to kind of do what I want. That's a possibility, to try to be like the guy who calls the heads. It's like, oh well, there was like the guy who says go, shoot at each other now for the duel. He may have known him and been like, let's try to psych him out, like, because he knew that this guy was a duelist. Which again, it's also very strange that no one remembers that about Charles Dickinson, or at least that's not what no one. Okay, never mind. That's not, obviously the internet does. That's not what I guess the standard individual remembers, and that's kind of the thing. But apparently he, like, I was like, I thought he was a writer, an author, and like I was like, I'm pretty sure he wrote poems. Yes, those are the things I know him for, and that's why I might know him. Why many people might, because that's the sort of stuff that reaches people. Him being an attorney and a duelist doesn't really apply to today, and unless you're a history buff, probably won't come up. But I will say that it does seem like Andrew Jackson was quite a jerk, and Charles Dickinson was very much considered. He should have won the fight. Basically, this is the way it seems. Everyone seems like he should. Now, whether that was because Andrew Jackson planned ahead and and angled his body a bit when the guns were drawn, and the bullet didn't hit his heart but stayed lodged in his body for the rest of his life. He did not die from it. He just, well, I guess this is part of this is my life now. But may have hit a button, and he was very skinny. Like, there's a bunch of things that people like pointed out, like, oh well, there was this and this and this. It's like, maybe I don't know, I wasn't there. I'm not trying to support Jackson. I'm just trying to. I feel like I have to relay the facts, because it does seem to suck that Dickinson died. Like, it seems like everybody thought he should win, and the whole, I was wrong about the firing of his gun. His gun, it's up for debate. It's not like I said. It wasn't like his gun didn't fire, or it, and he had to reload and stuff, and like, oh, like stuff in it and musket. It's, there's an interpretation or an openness that is that there's two types of misfire, and one where the hammer doesn't hit all the way, and one where the hammer does. It's like half cock, full, like, or whatever. And some people say it did one, and some people say the other. But it's, I think his second, Andrew Jackson's second, both of their seconds said his gun, at least after the fact, clamped and did not go pow. And as a result, he should have, based on the etiquette of dueling, just despite the fact that he may have planned ahead to just I don't know, tank the damage, which is even trying to psych the guy out still really stupid because this guy, like, he's known for having like 26, 36 or something duels. Like, they're like, that's confirmed. Jackson is, nobody wants to confirm. They're like, people think this. It's like, how do you think somebody's going to think that much about him? Like, he's got that many without some duels. It's like, what makes sense to me is that nobody wanted him to win. Jackson shouldn't have won because maybe he did improper. And again, if they're right, like, and the duelist etiquette is his hammer clicked and he pulled it back and he shot again, Dickinson just stood there and took it like a gentleman, and that is not cool. And that's what a lot of people would be upset about. Now, whether that's actually what happened or not, I don't know. I wasn't there. Whether he knew the guy or there was just like, let's psych him out, or was able to influence the circumstance enough. I think he just expected, like, I ended up getting into the Han shot first thing, and then that just took me too much anyway, because it seems so similar, and it's just like, I just wanted to be sure. It's like, no, Han shot first, shot last, only shot. Greedo died, the end. Every other, it's like, I didn't create the thing. I can only say that this was the first created thing by the creator. And it's whatever. That's like, it doesn't make sense. It's not good for the character. It's not good for really anyone. That said, it does seem cognizant and relevant to this, where, even though that's not the case, it seems relevant. The reality is, one lived, one died, and one may have been honorable and died, and one may have been dishonorable and died. Or chance and such favored, Andrew Jackson. And he later, after sustaining this wound, and at that time, with that medical technology, with a bullet in him, survived and just kept going. And Dickinson stood there and, according to Jackson's plan of taking the bullet, then shooting him, with the ability to be like, these are the rules, bro. Like, now I can aim up my shot. One of the things Jackson did say was, if he had shot me in the head, I still would have killed him. Like, if he'd shot me in the brain, it was like a nicer way to put it. But basically, it's like, and I'm like, no, I don't think you would have, sir. Your brain would have been shot. Maybe. I don't know. Actually, with that technology and stuff, there have been people who have been shot in the head and survived. And he does seem like a cantankerous, like, he would just not be done. Like, he's like, oh, no, we're going together. Like, it's one bullet each. I'm going to make mine count. If I'm not 100% 86, I'm going to take you with me. And he seemed like he was ready to do that, which sort of supports the whole concept that maybe he didn't just have the 2 duels or 5 duels, because that's a really dumb hill to die on. Like, the whole, like, it was about a horse. They were both horse breeders, and it was like a horse bet. And then he insulted his wife and him, and his wife had remarried and didn't realize that he hadn't filed for divorce, and he basically, like, dragged that up. And actually, that was like a bigger deal to people than the fact that he killed Charles Dickinson in a duel. And it could have possibly been just straight up, like, a whole, like, oh, he didn't follow the proper thing. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. So, yeah. But there's that. And just just to sort of say that maybe freaking Andrew Jackson had some bullshit going on where he just was like unnaturally lucky or whatever. He also was somebody tried to attempted to assassinate him and had two pistols. Another situation, but not a duel. Just surprise! You're at a funeral. I'm gonna try to kill you. I got two pistols, and both misfired. And Jackson, not being at a duel, got the nickname Old Hickory by, I mean, he probably beat other people with his cane before, but he beat the ever loving fuck out of this guy. People had to pull him off, and this is after he was president, so he tried to be like, this is sad. It was like a political thing, and the guy was actually pretty crazy apparently, and warrants something. I don't know. He thought he was gonna become the king of England by killing him because he was supposed to be the rightful one, and he thought Andrew Jackson had killed his dad who'd never been to America, and it didn't make a lot of sense. But it's like, I mean, Jackson may or may not have killed many people. Definitely killed Dickinson. That's real. Whether or not it was fair or not, I feel like I can't understand how like that sort of thing could happen for a person who's, I don't know. I feel like that guy. Anyway, they tested his pistols later and were just like, well, these work. I'm not sure why. Like, it's not like they were faulty. And again, at the time, pistols just, it's not like that. Guns didn't. Still, like, it's not like guns always 100. It's like, hammer. Hammers generally work. But guns, not always. And at that time, especially more so. That said, two guns went off at this man, or didn't, when they should have. And maybe his didn't go off when he was dealing with Dickinson, and he just fanned the hammer again and was just like, no, I took the bullet. I'm not going to just not shoot back. Like, I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying, I don't know. I'm just saying one survived, one didn't. The end. Then another guy tried to, then some other unrelated circumstance where two guns were, surprise, on him, didn't go off, and they were looked at later and like, there's nothing wrong with this gun. Either of these guns. This guy came with two, and you just got insanely lucky. And then proceeded to beat the crap out of him as a kind of an old guy, like crazy old man with a fucking cane. Like, that's okay. Like, not defending him, just saying crazy old man. And it sucks about the circumstance, but I feel like as a person who's seen things and sort of seen how history sort of views things, it seems like it was said that Jackson did not, that he suffered, a loss of prestige and such, as opposed to, the concept of the whole thing of the duel. It's like both people lost of it. It's like, but one still lived. It's like, I just don't see even a crazy man being willing to just soak a bullet from a professional duelist if he's never been in a duel before. Like an actual real duel where bullets were fired at each other, which is what some have said. And just, that's the first one. It's like, that's like that episode in Firefly, which, not spoilers, but kind of a thing. And yeah, definitely do watch Firefly, but it's just, it doesn't make a lot, like, even for, it's like, it just makes more sense that he was crazy and aggro and got in more duels, and that history has looked down upon him and sort of had to deal with things that could be confirmable, whereas it's not like there was like a ledger. But apparently for you know, Dickinson, which I had no idea. Like, I didn't know dueling was so big back then. Like, apparently the man who wrote Oliver Twist is like, oh, please, sir, may I have some more? Like, was just like, oh no, yeah, no, that's what history's gonna remember me, is that I was an attorney, and I like to fucking shoot people one on one. Like, let's do it. And it's like, not all the things you wrote? I'm like, well, that's not what they're focusing on, apparently. It's like, that might be what everybody knows me for, or if they know me at all. It's like, I didn't know you did the other thing. But a lot of them were attorneys or some sort of thing. Like, it was very, like, if you're going to be in Congress at all, it's like, I just feel like we're in an alternate reality where, like, that duel had gone differently. Dickinson, as an attorney, might have become president instead of Andrew Jackson. So, I'm not saying. I'm just saying, like, I feel like we're. Yeah, that's it. I just had to clear that up, get that off my freaking chest because it was bothering me, and I spent way too much time dealing with a whole rabbit hole for it. And that's it. Like, I don't have any real great opinion on it. It's just, I had to do it just so it would not bother me because I wanted to be accurate. It seems like Jackson's pistol may or may not have gone off all the way, and if it had gone off half, that would be kind of okay. If it had gone off and then not fired, that would be not okay, and he should have just conceded. Or alternatively, there was also that he could fire into the air, which is the thing. But Jackson had every intention of, like, he made it very clear, and so the other guy. So they wanted to end each other's lives. This wasn't a we can be gentlemen about this and come to a peaceful resolution. This was to the death. One of us will die. Like, if we don't die, then we both. If someone doesn't die, both of us failed. That's basically seemed to be their perspective on it. That someone needed to not be alive as a result of the actions. And that's exactly what happened. So, that's it. Alright, cool. Not a fun history lesson. I'm not a history teacher. I'm just bothered by the fact that I spent way too much time on this to not at least pass it on a little bit and give my opinion, even though it's not important and nobody is listening. And it's better than me just sitting here ranting to myself about it because it's lame. Alright, too much time.